welcome back to Music Through for Worship. I'm going to talk to you now about chords of a different colour. We'll start with orange, because it's my favourite colour.
That's not what we mean by color.
It's not?
No, we are going to talk about color chords today, but not that color. Sorry. How do we explain some of these unexplainable chords? We just talked about modal exchange, that sometimes that explains those accidentals that come up. There are other chords that we don't have a label for yet. Let's try some chords, okay? We're in the key of C, all right? A D major chord comes up. It's got an F sharp in it. We're not in the key of C, I think. How do we explain that? Is it a major 2?
No, because a major 2 doesn't exist. Therefore, well, D is a 5 or a dominant chord of G, so we'll call it that. Let's
5
call it
of 5. We have a label for it. It doesn't belong in the key of C, but it explains it within the context of C, because 5 of 5 still explains how it got to be. So we explained our F sharp. We had a Roman numeral to explain it. All right, let's just try a couple more. We're going along in the key of C. We have an E major chord. It has a G sharp in it. G sharp isn't in the key of C. How shall we explain an E major chord? I know, we'll just say big 3, major 3. It's a major 3 chord, right?
No, 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 Ken. You can't do that, because a major 3 doesn't exist.
Oh, that's right. It's a minor 3.
But it's not a minor chord. It does have that G sharp. So, it is a 5 of that 6.
So it was a 5 of 6. We have a label. We can't just call it a major 3. We have to call it a 5 of 6. It belongs in a different key. All right. Now what if we get to a 4 chord? We're in the key of C. We get to a 4 chord, but it's a minor.
Well, we went ahead and covered that in the last lesson, that minor 4 is merely just borrowed from C minor. So we can just call it a minor 4.
Okay, this is really getting complex, but we're down to the nuances. We're nearly to the end of our course here. And we just want to be able to give a label to every chord that could possibly exist. So, these color chords, there are only 4 more to learn. And we've run out of numbers. Everything can be explained using numbers, except for 4 particular chords, all right? Now, bear with me. We're in the key of C. We play an F. That's a 4 chord. It's an F minor, because we borrowed from the minor. We borrowed an A flat from the minor. We have a 2 chord in C. We're in C major.
C major.
We have a 2 chord.
We have a 2 chord.
It's a 2 half diminished chord. We borrowed an A flat from the minor. All right? What if we had a D flat major chord in the key of C?
Well, this is nearly inexplicable.
It is nearly inexplicable because it's like a 2 chord. It went to a 5 and then to a 1. The 5 was normal, the 1 was normal.
But we can't call it a 2 chord because that was a major chord, and we know 2 is never major. Therefore, it has to be something.
So, but this sound happens in minor also. Let me just demonstrate that. Does that sound familiar to you? The problem is the root of the chord has been changed. It doesn't exist in either major or minor. It's not a secondary dominant of something.
Therefore,
we've run out of numbers.
We're just going to make up a name and call it a Neapolitan.
That's what we do. Instead of using a number, we use the letter N.
For Neapolitan.
N means flat 2. It's a major chord in flat 2. That's all we can do, because we're not allowed to have flat 2, flat 7. We're not allowed to do those kinds of things. So We call it a Neapolitan.
Let's
Okay.
move on to what we will call the augmented 6 series.
There are 3 chords. They're all related to each other. They're all augmented 6 chords. Let's start with a 4 chord. Let's borrow from the minor, make it a 4 minor.
4 minor.
All right? And then let's raise
The root.
the root.
Root.
I've got a F sharp, A flat, C chord.
Huh.
A flat, C, F sharp and A flat. But it's usually voiced like this with the A flat in the bottom and the F sharp on top. So it's a 6th inversion. But we can't have sharp 4. You can't
No.
do that. So it's an F chord. It's spelled on purpose that way. But something was changed. If you change the root, what can we do? We can't do anything. We have to use a letter again. So we call it letter I for Italian.
That's brilliant.
But the letter I looks just like a Roman numeral 1.
So let's call it an it.
Yeah, we got to put a
IT.
T after it.
Yeah.
So IT, Italian, usually has a 6 with a slash through it to indicate that it's an augmented 6th. Because it's built on an F sharp, and we have no way of explaining that otherwise. Let's take that same 4 chord,
Brilliant idea.
borrow from the minor, raise the root, and put a 7th on it. F sharp, A flat, C, E flat. Except it's usually voiced with the A flat on the bottom and the F sharp on top, thus being another augmented 6 chord. Now, if you were to just look at this and spell it a little differently, it would be exactly an A flat 7 chord. A flat dominant 7th. So it's a 5 of Neapolitan. Because it's a dominant 7th. That's very German. That's
How German of you.
spelled differently. There's just one more. We've got the Neapolitan 6. We've got the Italian augmented 6. We've got the German augmented 6. And lastly, we'll go to beautiful France.
Oh, come on down.
Let's start not with a 4 chord. Let's start with a 2 chord in C major. There's 2 chord. Let's make it a 5 of 5, F sharp. Let's then lower the 5th.
Just for fun.
Yeah, because it's going to lean down to the G there. So the F sharp's on its way up to a G, the A flat's on its way down to a G. Let's voice it again with the A flat in the bottom. And now it's going to resolve to a 5 chord. I don't know what to call this chord. D, F sharp, A flat, C? Some sort of a 2.
some sort of a 2.
Some sort of a 2 with a diminished fifth or something. We've got no label for it. So, we'll call it a French 6 chord.
Seems good enough for me.
Again, we could just say F, but again, that might be confusing for people who are used to chord charts. So maybe we'll say FR in order to clarify it. So we've got IT, we've got GER or GR, and we've got FR. Now, one of the ways that you can then remember the French chord is it's an incomplete whole tone scale. Debussy used a lot of whole tones. So we go. Whole steps. Now, do you ever need to know those?
Not
really.
For worship, really.
Well, what you can do with your worship team is just say it's a flat 2, and you're never going to see the augmented 6 chords. But occasionally you might see this A flat 7 in the key of C. And say, that's weird. Oh, it's not weird. It's a German 6 chord.
And you know that. So,
yeah. Now we have explained every possible chord that there is. Everything can have a Roman numeral or a letter in order to describe it. That's all the color chords. That's all there is. We've even explained quartals and those kinds of clusters, things built on fourths and seconds. So you're good to go. We just have one lesson to go.